Hey guys, Kyle the Dead Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review of My Hero Academia Chapter 189. And I'm not gonna lie, this chapter was it was interesting in the sense where as I was reading this chapter, I started to realize that a lot of the stuff it was tackling, a lot of the stuff Horikoshi was tackling, he was actually he was actually kind of, even though it was very much an underlying element, you could very much say that he was kind of showcasing a lot of the downsides of All Might's legacy in this chapter. Like a lot of what Horikoshi was, a lot of what this chapter entailed a lot of underlying themes and ideas of basically what the legacy that All Might left behind, and how it wasn't exactly as much All Might's legacy, while definitely heroic, it wasn't as helpful to the society as we would have liked to believe. But but anyway, even before that though, before I get into that stuff though, I gotta start off too by saying, it seems I start off by saying that there's going to be no My Hero Academia chapter next week because Horikoshi apparently wants to do research on pretty much on how to proceed with this story. Which, fair enough. I've actually come to understand that if this is what works best for Horikoshi, then let him do it. Like I honestly, I think I've come like with Horikoshi. Honestly, like with Horikoshi for me, like this pretty much My Hero Academia as a whole, it's pretty much a passion project for the man. This is pretty. I think we have to understand that to Horikoshi has had what that definitely one or two series even before My Hero Academia. He had Barrage, and I think he had like a one shot or something, both of which pretty much failed miserably in order to. But both pretty much failed. Like pretty much Barrage definitely had a good run, but it was inevitably canceled. I think to Horikoshi, My Hero Academia is his last shot in Shonen Jump. Like the Horikoshi, My Hero Academia is his last and final hope at ever getting a long serialization in Shonen Jump. Which at this point he definitely has, but at this point he of course has running at this many chapters, but he like I understand where Horikoshi's coming from with doing all this research and whatnot. He wants to make sure he definitely gets it right this time. He doesn't want those ratings to drop. He doesn't want to lose any fans. He wants to make sure he does things right. So in that respect, I can respect it, and yeah, I can respect the hard work for sure. Um, so getting into the chapter itself, one thing I feel this chapter did really well is showcasing how Endeavour had basically become a new symbol of peace in his own right. And like I said before, in many respects, I feel what was showcased here, he's actually starting to surpass All Might's legacy in this chapter because of what his brand of inspiration means to the public. It with basically with what we see of Endeavour here, we definitely all know that from pretty much what we know of Endeavour, he's always been trying to surpass All Might. He's always been trying to surpass All Might, and in that sense, I believe Endeavour always thought that strength was the number one thing that was necessary, but in order to do that, but in this sense, he's basic in like okay, we definitely don't know the power scaling between All Might when he was at full power and Endeavor, but we can definitely say for sure that All Might will definitely surpass Endeavor for a lot of their time in pure strength. But in Endeavor's case, not being as strong as All Might actually works out to pretty much his favor in becoming the new symbol of peace because Endeavor's brand of inspiration shows people what they can become, not what they can't. Endeavor is a perfect symbol because he's not as powerful as All Might. And because he's not as powerful as All Might, he can actually inspire courage and bravery in people, while also not also pretty much also also enforcing the point that of not becoming dependent on him either. And and of course that was also carried forth even further by my next point, because let's talk about Hawke's perspective in this chapter, because it's interesting how even from a very young age he saw the biggest negative with All Might's legacy. All Might was supposed to be a symbol to inspire people, but in the end, all Might did was showcase how much of an unbeatable monster and immovable object he really was. He, which, and because of who All Might was as a character, because of what he actually represented, and not what he tried to represent, um, that basically gave rise to the complacency of heroes and citizens that Hawks was talking about in the beginning of this arc, with no one even attempting to be better heroes. No one even attempted to try and surpass all the insurmountable power that All Might that All Might had. All Might basically scared people from pretty much becoming better heroes. And it is actually it is such an ironic twist of fate. Like, he represented this big symbol of peace to protect people, and yet he ended up he ended up becoming he ended up becoming just a wall that no one even tried to surpass. And I think in a way like we can definitely see Horako, like with All Might. It was obvious that the Superman references were definitely many, and I think with Horikoshi, he's also in his own way addressing the greatest downside of Superman here as well. It's like he's addressing the downside to All Might, but addressing the downside to Superman as well. Um, the only and like I said, the only one who ever tried to in fact surpass All Might at the time was Endeavour. Like, of course Bakugo is trying to surpass All Might now, but at the time of what Hawk saw, the only one who ever tried to surpass All Might was Endeavour, and because of that, I think Hawks saw that Endeavour had greater potential to inspire people because of the fact that he was a less of an overwhelming force, which inevitably would of course give heroes a more reasonable and less intimidating benchmark, so to speak, in order to shoot for in terms of becoming stronger. Like, everything at the core of what Hawks has been doing in this arc, he's trying to set up Endeavour as this new symbol of peace who isn't as overwhelming or as who isn't as overwhelming or as or who isn't overwhelming or is basically tall of a wall as All Might was, so that the hero society can actually grow and actually get stronger, and it is reasonable, because in this current era they need to get stronger. Heroes need a symbol of peace that they can actually look up to, and actually want to go stronger, and can actually inspire them to in fact grow stronger. So yeah, I feel, and even more than that, I think Hawks also saw Endeavour as someone who could inspire courage and bravery in just the citizens, in just the regular average Joe citizens, the ones who didn't want to become heroes and only looked up to them. Yeah, I feel Hawks also saw Endeavour as a person who could do that. And in terms of where All Might came into the picture with that, well, if you really look closer actually at what All Might represented, or as how All Might inspire people, like All Might did, I guess, kind of inspire people, I guess, but at the same time, he also, whether All Might knew it or not, he also ended up creating a blind dependency within the citizens. Like, the citizens basically grew dependent on him, which never grew dependent on him. But here because of here, we pretty much now have a scenario where the citizens can actually have a more open viewpoint on who they can rely on, I guess you could say. But yeah, And going with that, I like how this chapter actually carried forth a lot of cynicism that's been developing with the heroes and police since All Might's retirement, and maybe even before then, with them basically saying that no one will replace All Might, not even the former number 2 hero. Yet, in Endeavor's moment of truth, the citizens end up putting their full trust in him, which in its own way is a total reversal from what we've seen before. Like again, this showcases that the citizens are starting to branch out and they're starting to say, okay, we just can't rely on one symbol anymore. We have to branch out. We have to be open minded. We have to rely on these other heroes. So yeah, I feel that's almost kind of what the citizens were saying in this chapter definitely reinforced that point too. But yeah, it should be interesting. I'm curious to see how the police and how the other heroes are going to think of Endeavor after this point, because I think it is, again, it is going to, Endeavor's victory here, I think, is going to give a bit of a benchmark for pretty much all these other heroes and inspire them to get stronger as well. So yeah, and also there's definitely quite a bit of heavy emphasis on Todoroki in this chapter, and so I think we can safely say that he Todoroki isn't gonna pull an Izuku, and he's gonna go out there and save Endeavor, of course. Which, again, I pretty much, I think at this point we can pretty much say that in Endeavor, that last chapter was basically one giant fake out. But you can see the wheels turning in his head, and and how he feels about his father at this point, and I think he's starting to realize that his father is changing for the better, and I hope this will lead to some more father-son interaction beyond this point. Hell, I'd even like it if they started to get his mother out. But yeah, guys, that's my review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter and Facebook. That Night, signing off. Later, guys.